Hello friends, my name is Ayush Pandey and I am welcome to all of you in my YouTube channel Ayush Pandey Education Lab. Friends, today we study physics, science and science we study of physics. So friends, firstly in physics we study about uh, force and laws of motion. So friends, in physics, in force and laws of motion, in briefly we study a conservation laws which is by which through which you can briefly understand about force and laws of motion. So first I want to tell you in briefly all conservation laws such as conservation of momentum, energy, angular momentum, charge, etc. are considered to be a fundamental laws in physics. They are based on observations and experiments. It is important to remember that a conservation law cannot be proved. It can be verified or disproved by experiments. Experiments whose result is conformity with the law verifies or substantiates the law. It does not prove the law. On the other hand, a single experiment whose result goes against the law is enough to disprove it. By again, I repeat it, conservation laws. All conservation laws, such as conservation of momentum, energy, angular momentum, charge, etc., are considered to be fundamental laws in physics. They are based on observation and experiments. It is important to remember that a conservation law cannot be proved. It can be verified or disproved by experiments. An experiment whose result is in conformity with the law verifies or substantiates the law. It does not prove the law. On the other hand, a single experiment whose result goes against the law, it's enough to disprove it. Next, the law conservation of momentum. The law of conservation of momentum has been reduced from large number of observations and experiments. This law was formulated nearly 3 centuries ago. It is interesting to note that not a single situation has been realized so far which contradicts this law. Several experiences of everyday life can be explained on the basis of the law of conservation of momentum. So friend, it is a conservation of momentum and conservation laws in which we understand momentum, energy, angular momentum, charge, etc. are considered to be fundamental laws in physics. These are fundamental laws in physics which we are important, which are basics. So it is important to understand inner force and laws of motion. Without of this we can't understand the force and laws of motion, and also we can't experiment it. So now we know about the first law of motion. First law of motion: an object continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. This is the first law of motion. Now we know about the second law of motion. The rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to be applied to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of the force. This is known as the second law of motion, and now we know as the third law of motion. To every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, and they act on two different bodies. This is known as a third law of motion. By again I repeat you the first law of motion, second law of motion, and third law of motion in briefly, and I just again differentiate it. First law of motion: an object continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight lines unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. It is known as a first law of motion. Second law of motion: the rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of the force. It is known as a second law of motion. And third law of motion: to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, and they act on two different bodies. This is known as a third law of motion. If you have any doubt in these three laws of motion, then you can ask again in the comment box, and just please like and share and give up more and more subscribers to my YouTube channel, by which I can get the support by you. Thank you. Have a nice day.